Let's see. So are you talking into your phone?
I am.
Okay. I guess as close to your phone that you can talk for better audio. That would be awesome.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, baby. All right. Let's just roll right into it. Thanks for jumping on. Can you please tell the radio audience who you are, where you are, and what you're trying to do with your art these days?
My name is Rayland Baxter. I am a human being. I am located in Pegram, Tennessee, 30 minutes west of Nashville, on a chair made of wood, on a porch made of wood, next to 8 water jugs that are empty. What am I doing with my art these days? I'm making it, man. And
We're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it. I make it years before anybody else gets to hear it.
That is weird, when we create records that you're talking about as like, this represents who I am right now, but really it represents you in this little microcosm 2.5 years ago or something, or sometimes 10 years ago. And then it all kind of filters through this tiny funnel that we now get to hear.
Yeah, well, but that is interesting. Hopefully one is making art that represents them through their entire, you know, discography and life. Like I still relate to my first record in a major way, just kind of like the memory was made and the album is still there, the first one, and it's still a part of my daily life. Like who I am now is who I am then. And it's just like kind of grows like a bush or something, more fruits, more sunrises, more sunsets. I'm still the same bush.
A burning bush that keeps burning.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. If I got burnt, it hurts, and then I think would burn down. That's for the biblical mysteries, man. However, I would like to think that what I'm doing or what any artist is doing is as grand and as reportable as the burning bush.
Well, yeah, if you go back to your first record, Feathers and Fishhooks, which is over, it's what, 11 years old now.
It's 10 and a half years old. Yeah.
A song like Olivia is almost like an old friend, right? That you can always sort of call on, that people know that they have this sort of relationship with, that maybe feels old to you now, but some people are just finding out about it this week, right? The way streaming
Totally.
works, of course, Spotify, they're like, they force you to listen to the most popular of whatever your work is. You don't get to choose that.
Right.
So it's like, here it is, Yellow Eyes, Olivia, Willie songs that are these little microcosms of you a decade ago, but people are getting to know you almost like in various parts of the past, like a cubist painting put together,
Right. I mean, I think the same thing with like the Rolling Stones or something. Like somebody may not hear Sweet Virginia until like 50 years after it's come out, but they've heard all the other ones, and I don't know, you just hear a good song whenever you're meant to hear it, I suppose.
And If I Were a Butterfly is the new record.
Yeah.
And, you really took it upon yourself to obviously be the engine behind a lot of these songs, the main producer, the songwriter, obviously, but also kind of put yourself in this unique environment in this abandoned rubber band factory turned studio. And you used your environment, you used sort of almost like home audio from your past to sort of create this um full sonic tapestry of your experience. I started listening again to a favorite record of mine, Tom Waits's Mule Variations. I'm not sure if you've
Mm-hmm.
ever listened to that one. And there's
I
something
have.
about this record that really strikes me like that they're on the same plane somehow, where you have these very uh dark and direct kind of rocky funk kind of songs with these radio uh vocals, and then these super tender piano ballads to sort of balance them out somehow, like you're telling stories
Yeah.
from both sides of a broken love story and a past.
Yeah. Well said. That's it, man. Like, there's that, like, I think it was the first or second Lost Boys record where he starts it off and he's talking to some guy in a subway, and the guy asks him what kind of music he makes, and he says, "I make music the way I am, my man." And that's like, that's it. And this record was the first one where I got to make music without having to follow anybody's guidelines. Really, the guidelines were lifted when COVID started, and then I had an extra 2 years to work on the record, which I took advantage of, and I just dug into a hole and started laying tile, and that's it, man. That's what came out of it. It is like a very accurate representation of who I am and what it sounds like in my head, and I was able to, like, I was learning how to use Pro Tools during this time, and I was editing a bunch, and I grew up listening to Beck, and so I liked, like, how he kind of turned his voice into a DJ kind of thing, like very talented,
Yeah.
and so that was fun. I was just by myself for the most part, and I didn't want to see anybody. I was just, and I had all these tools in this studio, and I had the nature outside, and I went through 4 seasons making this. I mean, at least in the last year, starting in December of 2020 to December of 21, I spent that whole year like digging in the studio, um, for the most part by myself. It was great. Honestly, I wouldn't do it again. I would not do it again, but it was a great time.
Well, I think when you have that isolation that a lot of us were forced to go into during the first year or so of COVID, there's a sense of freedom, but a sense of madness that can kind of come into it too.
Yeah.
Which I think we get that sense in those first few tracks. I mean, that opening track, it's not like an easy, like, you know, friendly track to drop us into this record. I mean, you have
Right.
obviously yourself as a child singing, but it's like a long, sprawling, at times almost scary journey, right? And we're talking
Yeah.
about this theme, I think, in that first song of like, are we lost? Are we
Yeah.
lost again? Like, have you lost your mind? Have you lost your friends? In 2020, you lost your father. It's like
Yeah.
like who are we? What is tying us down? And if we could be like this tiny creature, we could just fly away and get away from it all. But you can't. You have to be inside your own head. That's like you have no choice.
Yeah.
It's not I am a butterfly. It's if I were.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, who doesn't want to fly away?
Yeah.
The idea of just like, man, I wish I could fly. From a little kid, like, well, where would you fly to? I'd fly away. Well, what's at away? Probably more problems. So,
Yeah.
and more new find forms of beauty. So it's like, at the end of it, I've learned, as much as I would want to fly away or ever wanted to fly away, like, you don't fly away. You it's all here. and some shit you got to deal with and take care of and be responsible with, so that you can experience joy and give joy. And then some stuff is already there in place from maybe proper parenting or a good group of friends. And then yeah, but like life is life. That record, this record that we're talking about, is, if I see it in 3 seconds, it's a caterpillar covering himself up and becoming a butterfly or an angel. It's like, uh, not only did I lose my old man, but 2 years prior to that, the owners and the creators of Thunder Sound Studio, they both died within 3 months of each other. And one died accidentally and one died on purpose. And there was the one that died on purpose left because he was heartbroken from the one that died accidentally. They were best friends.
Mm.
Uh, and so, and it just drove him mad. And so it was like, there's a lot of life and death in a quick caterpillar's life, like in a butterfly. I don't know how long butterflies live, but um, and that was it. Like it was just, yeah, I don't know. I could talk forever about it, honestly.
But when you go back to that line, all I feel, all my thoughts, are we lost? And then later on, tell me everything you know, are we lost again? What does that
Yeah.
lostness feel for you? Like where is that coming from?
Um. Yeah. Well, it comes from, start like with the two guys I was just mentioning, Billy Swayze, not being able to see him come around the corner in the studio and be like, "Oh, damn, that's good, Ray," or or "Damn, Ray, you got to play the bass in the pocket, man. You're wiggling around too much, man. Keep it in the pocket. Keep it in the box."
Yeah.
And also, like, not being able to call my dad. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
He as for third. Oh, you're still there? There we go.
Yeah.
For 39 years, well, for 37 years, he is my phone call. If I got jittered, if I got uncomfortable, if I was comfortable and wanted to share something, I would call him out of the gate, just bing bing.
Yeah.
And so I still, like, to this very day, I wake up and I'm like, man, I wish I could call him. And I feel lost. It's like it's but what am I going to do other than find out how to access him in a different realm and learn how to trust what I got inside of me, so I don't feel lost and so I don't feel incomplete, and alone. Like he's my dad and I are the same guy. We hear music the same, we play music the same. I think I probably play a little bit more than him, and in a bad way, but that comes with age. Um, and I see a tree the same way he does, and a bend in a river the same way he does. And so when he died, I lost, like, that friend to share something with, or to know that on this planet there's somebody that is very attached to me, and vice versa. So I think that would be like kind of where the lost is. But also during COVID, man, we were all lost. We had never experienced anything like that in our lifetime, and so everyone
Yeah.
was like, can I get near you? I used to love you. I love you still. Are you gonna die tomorrow? Should I cough
Yeah.
into my sleeve when I'm in a coffee shop? Um, all that stuff was just like weirded us all out.
Well, yeah, there's this other line that I saw that maybe is a through line or maybe just accidental, right? You say in If I Were a Butterfly, oh my God, all I feel, all my thoughts. And then that line in Graffiti, all I do is mumble, oh my God, on repeat, right? This sort of mystical confusion that we all have. Like, are we all going to be wiped out tomorrow? Or maybe this will pass and we have to like actually wrestle with what's really going on.
Yeah, I know when my dad passed, like all I could say was, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God," and Papa. And that's it, man. I said that for 4 days until I got into his house and had kind of like an amazing, miraculous spiritual moment where I spoke with him for 2.5 hours in his
Wow.
house. Um, But all I could say is, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's like this long like acceptance. But when shit's fucked up, people say, oh my God, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, I almost
everybody
wonder
knows
if
that one.
it'd be funny if like Jesus came back, if he like rose from the dead, like they said, and everyone was just like they fell down the stairs and they're like, Jesus Christ. He's like, man, that's not really how I thought this was gonna go.
That's
Like, are
funny.
they saying that like in a good way or are you mad?
Yeah, right, right. Jesus Christ. But yes, I am.
That's me.
Yeah. So keep your balance.
For folks who don't know, your dad, Bucky, played with Bob Dylan and all sorts of folks. But can you tell us a little bit about him and maybe how, he influenced you or shaped you musically?
Yeah, my dad, he's a pedal steel player among other instruments, but he played. He's one of the original Dukes of Steve Earle and the Dukes back in the '80s, Guitar Town and Copperhead Road, which is a big alt country, the birth of alt country. I mean, kind of, Waylon Jennings, I guess people would say, and all that stuff. But he played with Bob. I played with Steve Earle for 10 years. Played with Bob Dylan for 10 years. He played on some Sheryl Crow hits, and he played with the Beastie Boys and Los Lobos and Ryan Adams. Um, and he's just like he was the not like a country pick and pedal steel player, but he always managed to play the right thing, and he was known to be a great band member because he always played the right thing. He listened very well to music, and he just kind of like had a lot of trust and faith in the powers that we cannot explain. And he loved to go on fishing trips. But he taught me a lot about music. When I moved back to Nashville 14 years ago, I was just starting to play music. And so he would play with me every show I had. We would write songs together, and he would kind of like constructively critique me after the shows. And that,
Uh huh.
I had a big advantage um, in comparison to my contemporaries because my dad, in comparison to most of my contemporaries, minus Nick Bennett, who is Richard Bennett's son, who was also a member of the Dukes, but went on to
Mm.
play with Mark Knopfler and does, you know, I just had Bucky as like he played for some of the greatest songwriters that we know of: Steve Earle, Bob Dylan, Ryan Adams. As much as he's like getting some flack right now, that guy made some killer records that created the new Nashville. And so he saw how these guys stood. He saw how they carried themselves in interviews and how they carried themselves before and after shows. And so I was able to kind of like just learn from them through him.
Hmm. He's like the special sauce in a lot of these bands, like
Yeah,
the
big
the
time.
butter on top.
But Bucky, the butter on top, Baxter. There you go.
So that track graffiti, the line, no surprise, you're finally alive.
Graffiti Street.
Yeah, graffiti street. It's like was was that about sort of seeing your dad come back in that conversation, or was that a totally different moment?
That's more a song about Billy Swayze, and Billy when he passed, he was running from the law like he'd been running from the law for the past previous years. Like the local cops in Franklin, Kentucky, kind of were out to get him. Um, and but he's dancing in the heavens now, playing rock and
Yeah,
roll music. He was always transcendent. Like he was when he played music, he was that pure music. He
right.
became music. And so, I see him dancing on the rooftops, kicking his shoes off, having a good old time. And Graffiti Street is reference to Spray Paint Road, which is a nickname for Coomer Road, which is the road that studio is located on. And since the 70s, it's just been accepted by the county up there that you can go take spray paint and spray paint on the road, anything you want to. And
Hmm.
for like 3 miles, the road's covered in spray paint. It's awesome. And so that's that. He's alive now.
Yeah. You know, talking about Steve Earle, it reminds me of the I got to interview him for this podcast in his tour bus, and
Hell yeah.
he had like this back table, and we sat at this little table, but it was hard to like put your feet down because he had about 150 cowboy boots all over the ground. Like like the rug was just cowboy boots for him to
Yes.
choose, I guess, for the show, you know. And while he was doing the interview, he had two huge TVs watching the Yankees, like
Whoa.
baseball, like and he would stop every like few minutes and just like analyze what was happening at the plate and then go back to the conversation.
That's awesome. Steve Earle is awesome, man. He's had a long journey, and uh I I like I discovered how fucking awesome he is beyond music when I just saw him on The Wire. He's an actor on The Wire.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's Steve Earle acting real good. And he's kept on making records, and unfortunately his son passed, and that's got to be a fucking just a situation to deal with when the son passes before the father. And um
Did you know Justin
but
at all?
I didn't know him well, but we have like probably fading childhood memories together. But I toured with him in Sweden in like 2014 or 2015. We did a Rolling Thunder Review esque
Hmm.
um, uh, called the Rolling Rootsy Review,
Okay.
and they got a big like love for Americana music out there in bluegrass.
Yeah.
And so there was 7 bands that traveled in 4 different vans, and we popped around from city to city, and the stage was already set up, and we played, and it was a good time. Justin was there.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, I think, seeing a tortured soul, I guess you could call him, like not be able to make it through um to be able to create music as an older songwriter like his dad. Like we'll never know what he's gonna write on the other side of it because he's not here. A lot of people
Yeah,
just
well, that's his
don't make
journey,
it through.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his journey. I was I was listening to some radio show like Across America or something. I forget this dude, but he was talking about how and before we were born back, before we were what's the word called? Um,
Reincarnated.
re, yeah, reincarnated. We're given 4 exit points. We choose to leave this life at 4 exit points. We pick one, and so since hearing that, whether it's true or not, I don't know. Who knows? Like I've looked at death like, all right, well, my dad, before he was reincarnated to be Bucky Baxter, to be William Baxter, he chose that spot to leave, and that's when his lesson and his teachings was up. And so I think about maybe Justin, without him knowing now, he chose that exit. And kind of like in Big Fish, when you look into the lady's eye and you see how you die. uh,
Mm.
I don't think it helps anybody out to know how they die, but it makes it easier to think that it wasn't like completely accidental. Um, but who knows?
I think obviously people have made some comparisons to the Beatlesque quality of this new record. Um, Maybe an Abbey Road, a White Album vibe. But
Oh yeah.
what I like is when you reference, and not a lot of people do this, but when you reference a song that hasn't come up yet in the album order, like My Argentina, but you're referencing
Mm-hmm.
the same lines in Dirty Knees, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that obviously until I came back around. But you have almost like these two different viewpoints. In Dirty Knees, you have like almost a bebop trumpet, like an old smoky jazz club, uh,
Mm-hmm.
sort of slam poetry reading, and then My Argentina, obviously a much more tender sort of unrequited love song feeling. Um, how did you want to connect those two things together, or did it sort of happen accidentally?
It was accidentally, like, so the night before we recorded Dirty Knees, I recorded My Argentina by myself on a piano. And we had made arrangements to, as a band, to attempt recording My Argentina the next day as a band. And so Dirty Knees is our sound check. And it's just all of us sitting in the room jamming and for like 30 minutes on this groove. And I had all my sheets of songs and lyrics that I was flipping through while we were just jamming. I started freestyling, and I grab a lyric from, like, painted white doors on a Sunday, painted white doors everywhere. That was a lyric from a song called Painted White Doors that we never recorded. And then it went off into the freestyle land where, you say I could lay down here for hours, not go anywhere. And then like all of it was all of the lyrics were jumped off of little platforms of already existing lyrics. And that's just a freestyle jam. And then of course, we were going to record My Argentina, so that was sitting there on the piano, and I decided to sing a little bit of that, unintentional, but that was fun. That's how that came about.
The idea that uh, you could sort of look into this person's eyes forever, but you don't know if they're ever gonna see you in the same way, right? Um, there's definitely a thread of unrequited love, of yearning, of maybe two ships sort of passing each other in the uh current of affection and love and lust
Yeah.
and desire. um um when you try to write a love song, do you see the person that you're writing about, or is it sort of more of a feeling, or almost uh an emotion versus this actual person?
Yeah, it's like yes, it's more of the feeling, and just the pursuit of pure love and harmony with another human being. I've always been able to wear the shoes well of pining for something that I've never had. Maybe, I mean, I've had it, but like, who it's like the final thing in the video game or something, where you got to go get the third piece of the ocarina of time,
I
and
know.
once you get it, everything falls into pieces. It falls into place. The kingdom is saved. The heart throb is found. Pure harmony and fucking holding hands, walking down the road forever. So like the ultimate thing in human life, at least here, is to find um or is to have true love. And so the pursuit is like what we're all into. And hopefully, if it slaps us in the face, we know how to ride it, and not destroy it. It's a really fragile thing. And so I don't see necessarily a certain person when I sing that song, or any love song, that other than Olivia. Like, Olivia is a specific person. But no, I think the best ones are, if I don't see a pure vision, then nobody else will, and they get to make up their own kind of idea of the song, which is what a song should be beyond the studio, is a platform for everybody, anybody to grab a hold of and like think things they never thought before or feel things through a song.
When you go into that chorus, it's too late to cry on your shoulder. It's too late to love you like that. Tell me why should I love you forever when you won't even love me back? It it reminds me of almost like a 70s Billy Joel chorus,
Yeah.
It's, you
It's
got a
like seeing the
way
person
about you. It's like
float
it's
away.
very tender. It's like tender, but like with this little bit of edge and malice. Like, God, like
Yeah.
why can't we make this work? Like,
Yeah, man. I've always like I've always wanted in a relationship, I've wanted to be loved as much as I love. And whether that's a problem within me, which it very well could be, and I'm in the process of pinpointing these things and getting advice and help on my inner self as to why I continually feel like I love somebody more than I am loved by them. And it's torture, man. It's fucking
yeah.
torture. Because I mean, shit. It's just like at the end of the day, I'm left out of breath and kind of heartbroken, and maybe the other side is too. But like, I don't get into relationships hardly ever because of this. Um, but I'm like, I've been in a relationship for the last year with a lovely human being, but we're having so much trouble trying to figure it out. Like, and her my deepest concern in a relationship is loving somebody more than they love me, and hers would be like, well, I'll just for her protection, I won't say what hers would be, but like we just end up arguing about my feelings getting hurt, and I'm
Yeah.
a grown man, like, and I'm getting my feelings hurt. And should I be tougher? And should I be more equipped, better equipped for love in a relationship? Well, I don't fucking know, but it the thing with my Argentina, the person laying next to me, they're constantly, it's like when you get bed spins, something's close and far away, they're constantly moving away from me. And that's how the record ends, with this like reverb cloud of
Uh-huh.
and that's what it's like. It's like perpetual, like looking through a kaleidoscope and just you just see like
Well, the heartbreaking
come
thing
back.
about love in general is that it starts as this hormonal, almost honeymoon period, right? Where your animal bodies are telling you you have to get together. We have to like further the human race and your species, right? It's like you're literally like magnets, but that literally scientifically wears off, and then you have to figure it out as
Yeah, and
people.
surface like what my problems are, what her problems are, or his, for whatever, that's like that's when the tricky shit starts. And that's very difficult and under uh this should be education in schools, like how to how to survive in the woods, how to be nice to your partner, and how to understand other human beings. Like with tailgating, for example, when somebody's tailgating me, my immediate reaction is, motherfucker, get the fuck off my tail, man. God damn, what the fuck did I
Yeah.
do to you? But maybe they just walked in on their husband or wife fucking somebody else, or maybe their mother's in the hospital and they're on the way to the
Yeah.
hospital, or maybe they're going through absolute world shit and it has nothing to do with the person that's being tailgated. Like understanding that in a relationship is also a gift that I don't you can we can either teach ourselves or go to therapy to find out, or have our parents who love each other and who are nice to each other all up through the upbringing of a child to learn from. But most people don't have that. So the tailgater is going to be the asshole, and the guy getting tailgated didn't do shit, you know.
Well, I remember being a kid and seeing my parents, who, God bless them, are married almost 40 years,
That's
30
amazing.
years, 40 years. Um, And I remember looking at them and being like, how do these people even stay together? Like they seem like they have literally nothing in common. They're arguing about the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like they seem like they honestly hate each other some of the time. Like, how is this a thing? And then of course, like the next day, they're like so perfect for each other. Obviously, they're gonna be married for 40 years. And I feel that way
Yeah.
sometimes about me and my wife. Um, it's like you get into an argument sometimes and you're like, who are you? Like, why are you like this? I mean, this is like a thing that like I will say, like, why are you the way you are? you know? Uh and I think like that mystery, that frustration is why most art exists, right? Trying to figure out like how do I love you but also despise you sometimes? Like,
Yeah, man.
ah, you know, because the people who you really love are the people who get under your skin so deep that
Mm-hmm.
the smallest look, the smallest little bit of negativity just throws you so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Be like, you love me? No, you don't love me. You wouldn't do that if you loved me.
Why would you say
But
that?
yeah, but really all of that is done. Um all of that is done, and it's like, well, how much do I love myself, and where do I find somebody else's, where do I scapegoat that to, you know?
Well, the song that obviously really hit me hardest and a lot of people are gravitating to is Tadpole. Um and you're going back to when you were a kid and seeing this stuff happen around you, the obviously the beauty and simplicity of your childhood neighborhood, and you know throwing paper airplanes on top of the church, and but also feeling this sense of dread and death when you see this neighbor that kills herself. It's just these are these small moments that stack up to create who you are. um
Mm-hmm.
and when you started writing that, was there a point where you felt like you had to go to that moment where you heard that gunshot, or is it like almost too personal? Like sometimes it's so personal, it's
Um,
it's painful to write.
yeah, oh that, oh shit. Yeah, there you are. That I wrote that song with Kai Welch, who's one of the producers. We wrote like 4 songs that day, and that was the one that came out. We wrote it in the studio, and then we recorded it that day. We were like, oh, this is the one. And so I think that's not a dark moment. Well, it kind of is, I guess. Like some lady kills herself across the street from me. I didn't see her do it. I just heard the gunshot.
That's pretty
But
terrifying.
no, yeah, it was. I mean, I was so young that it's just like, you know, no big deal, kind of. I guess. At the time, I wasn't like, oh my god,
Yeah, you just didn't
mom.
even know.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, whoa, look at those fucking fire trucks. Damn, they're loud and pull those
Right.
lights. And I was out on my bicycle the next day, you know. Um, it's that's just childhood shit, you know. It wasn't that bad. I wish that she didn't do that because I think a lot of people didn't want her to do that. But that's how it goes.
Yeah, there's something about experiencing things that as a kid where there's so much passing by you, like you're on a highway, and the stimuli is flying by you. I see that in my little 11-month-old daughter. Like we're doing all this stuff with her, right? We're like, we're going to Hawaii, and like, we're in Mexico, and then we're like, she's not gonna remember any of this. Like all this really cool stuff has happened to her that most adults will never experience. She will have
Right.
literally no memory of it. But I guess we have all these videos and photos. But it's fascinating because it's like when she opens a Christmas present, she doesn't care what's inside. She wants to play with the paper. Like
Yeah,
she
yeah,
wants
yeah.
the sparkly, rapping is the most exciting thing, not the really cool toy that someone spent a bunch of money.
Right.
She's
Yeah,
like,
but
woo,
she's
yeah.
shaped by it all, man. She's shaped by your joy that you experience, you know this stuff when you're out there in Hawaii and like for the future, the joy that you experience dipping your toes in the ocean with your daughter and your wife, that's like that'll go on to make you a better father when she's 12, I think, and so she may not remember it other than the pictures, but it's like valuable time that
What
goes
what
on for decades.
what do you think is your earliest memory that you can actually think of? Like how young?
Oh, probably like four or five, I think. Having a birthday party. My mom had she built, she like dug treasure. She buried fake crystals and pearls in the backyard of our house, and
Yeah.
we had a pirate's booty. Like we all dressed up as pirates for my fourth birthday. Um, and all my friends from like preschool, I guess, or whatever, came over and we had clues. And I remember digging up holes in the yard, finding treasure. Like we had a big wooded backyard when I was a little kid in Old Hickory. And I think that's my earliest memory.
How is your mom's relationship with your dad being gone and being a musician?
Well, they were divorced when I was 3. So they were like, they didn't get along for a long time. And um, they didn't really have a relationship. I remember my mom saw my dad for the first time in a decade, like 4 years ago. And I was just like, damn, y'all actually loved each other. Fucking weird. My dad's like, hey, Claudia, how you doing? My mom's like, hi, Bucky, how are you?
Yeah.
Like, my mom's fucking radical, don't get me wrong by the sweet voice. Like, she's really smart and definitely, ate acid before she had kids, did the far out thing and was a hippie. And so that's why I think it worked. But life goes on and people grow up, and they definitely divorced because they came together to make two things: my sister and me, and that is it. And so that's why they got together. And she was pretty heartbroken too when he passed, but um she became, she had to step up to the plate for her kids and become a sweet mother in our old age. I'm almost 40 and my sister's almost 41. And so, Claudia, my mom, she is like, she showed us kind of how spiritual she is, that we didn't even know about.
Was there a type of music or a songwriter or something that you actually got from her versus your dad?
Oh man.
Like what was her taste?
Like her taste was all in excess. She liked in
Okay.
excess, and classical music, and like Joan Osborne. She was big into Joan Osborne, Tom Petty. Yeah, she took me to a Tom Petty concert. The first concert I went to was Tom Petty during the Wildflowers album cycle.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that was the first show I ever went to. Taj Mahal opened up. My dad got us tickets because he was already playing for Dylan at this point. It was at Starwood Amphitheater outside of Nashville. A memory long gone. That amphitheater is like, I think actually I heard recently they're going to revive it, but it's like growing weeds and has cracks in the ceilings
Yeah.
and the foundation. But yeah, Tom Petty, Joan Osborne, and In Excess, and then classical music. Like I don't even know, just classical music.
Yeah, I almost assume that like my mom, who doesn't like actively listen to music at all, like I was like, oh yeah, my dad gave me all the music that I uh love and influenced me as a songwriter, as a band leader. And then I realized like, oh yeah, my mom was playing all these cassettes in the car Simon and Garfunkel, Linda
Yeah.
Ronstadt, Cat Stevens, Patsy Cline, like all that stuff is now filtering in now almost, and that was
I,
all from
I forgot
her,
to mention, my mom is responsible for my first album. Here it is. My dad's buddy gave me he gave me a Megadeth CD when I was in kindergarten for my birthday, and I brought it home, and my mom was like, "No, dude, no, no." So we went to Target and we replaced it. We returned it for Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and that was my mom's doing right there. And like that's there you go. That's set me off to the right path.
Isn't that
Or
funny how
else
like
I probably wouldn't be talking right now.
it feels like boomer parents, it's like did this great service to us, late 30s songwriters by like having Beatles be our children's music. Like that was
Yeah,
like the music we had as kids. I mean, it was like,
yeah,
and it feels like it is children's music in a lot of ways. It's playful, but it's also like,
mm-hmm.
Helter Skelter is not a kid's song, but
Yeah,
it's like a Disney movie has great villains and
yeah,
darkness
yeah,
in it too. I
yeah,
get
yeah.
concerned by, going to daycare and my daughter's, listening to this like da, 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 like these like happy cheer. I'm like, turn this crap off. Like, why? Like, can't we get some more nuanced like put on Sergeant Pepper?
The
Come on.
sun is the sky and brightness is the sun and we. Like, all right.
Was there when you started touring, was there a show where you realized like, okay, like this is really going to work? I mean, obviously, like you start playing shows when you're younger, and then you're like, well, I'll do this for fun, and then see what else happens. Was there like a tour, a moment where you're like, oh, people are really getting behind what I'm doing?
Yeah, the first legit tour I did was opening up for the Civil Wars in their big um their only no they put out two albums, but their first album, it was like sold out shows everywhere from Seattle to Tennessee to no from Seattle to Memphis we played. And I would play solo. I'd open up solo, and people were engaged. I was like doing something that people really were listening to, and so from the get-go, I realized like, okay, dude, I'm gonna do this. I'm doing something that people are really gravitating to, and it's bringing them joy, it's making them cry, and I'm emoting this type of thing. And for years I could only afford to go out by myself. So I would go out, like I opened up for Grace Potter, and she's got a pretty rowdy group of fans. And I play
Yeah.
solo, and I'd learn how to like get through the talking audience, um and I opened up for Lauryn Hill for a few shows, and that solo,
How did
and
that come together?
oh, we played the Electric Forest Festival up in Michigan one summer, and she was headlining that night, and she walked by our set in the woods, and I was playing with the band, four of my buddies, and we had all taken acid and Molly, and we're like just rocking out. I had a bottle of Jameson. I was ripping down my guitar, and it was in this forest with a bunch of Chinese lanterns everywhere, and this
Right.
looked cool. And we were having a far out experience. And so she was with her booking agent, from what I understand. She's like, we need that. We need them to come open up for us. And so I did two shows solo just because of the travel uh, logistics. And then we played as a band, opened up for her in Louisville at a big amphitheater. So that's how that came about. It's cool as fuck because she's cool as fuck. And she was like, she would stay after her set and say hi to every fan that stayed, man.
Wow.
Everybody.
I feel like that song Rubber Band Man would feel really good in that frenzied, drugged out forest in Michigan. I feel like I would like to see
Oh yeah.
that in that environment.
Yeah, I hope. I don't know if they do that. They do that festival, but that was like when Electric Forest is more of an EDM festival. Sorry, I'm playing with my dog. What's up,
Who's that?
man? Let me get that ball. God, he's so freaking quick. Um, that's hippie. This is hippopotamus, by the way.
Aw,
What's up, buddy?
psychedelic ball.
Yeah, give me that thing. Like, yeah, woo. Oh, it
Do
glows
you
in the
have
dark too. But
do you have a band in place for the shows that are coming up to play this record?
yeah, all those guys that played on the record, I'm touring with. Not all of them, but the drummer Kyle Davis, he played on half the songs. The guitar player Barney Cortez, he's my brother, you know, so he's coming out with us. And Todd Bolden, the bass player, he's touring. I've been touring with him and Barney for like 4 years, 5 years almost. Um, and yeah, those are the guys. Aaron Embry is going to play with us in LA, who's playing some ragtime piano. He played a bunch of the piano on that Mac Miller EP that I did. And Kai Welch, the other producer, is probably going to come out with us for some shows. And so, yeah, those guys are all like down. It's the first time I made a record with the band I'm touring with, and it makes it pretty easy. We don't have to rehearse at all.
Yeah, it's like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Let's just say that 5 years from now, you're given the opportunity to start your own music festival, and you can do it wherever you want, anywhere in the world, any venue, and you get to put 5 acts to headline. How does it work?
Well, I've actually thought about this. It would be It would be called Rayland. It would be located in Rayland, Ohio, which is in Northwest Ohio. There's actual city, a little town called Rayland, Ohio, spelled the same way. It would be, let's see, I put the Kingston Springs. They've dismembered. They put out one record. They're all friends of mine. But if you ever heard of Ian Ferguson, he is one of the old members of this band that they put out an incredible record when they were in high school in Kingston Springs, Tennessee, like the town that I live next door to right now. They would play. I'd have Liz Cooper play, and I'd have the Strokes play, and I would
All right.
like to have like, let's see, that's about, I guess I would have to play. So then there's one other band. Let's see. I'd get like, oh man, I'd get the Osborne brothers to play. Um,
All right.
old bluegrass boys. I think they're all dead though. No, they're alive actually.
You can bring them back.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, shit. In
It's
that
just
case,
fantasy.
okay. Fuck it. I'd have Grateful Dead play, and I would just DJ. Boom.
If you could collab with your dad, bring him back for the festival for one song, what would you play together?
Let it all go, man. The last track on Wide Awake. Yeah, definitely. That's kind of his motto. Is like, just keep her cool, Ray. Let it go, man. Let it go. And yeah,
Amen.
that's the easy one right there.
Well, I'm really glad that you're making music on your own terms, and you know, Wide Awake is, I think, one of my favorite records of the last 10 years. I think
Hell
it's
yeah.
it's a masterpiece, and I'm getting to know this new record, and it's really cool stuff, man. And
Thank you.
you are the first returning guest on the show on the road.
All right. I was waiting for that.
I think we're gonna call this episode Rayland Baxter Returns.
Yeah.
Like
Returns. Pew, pew,
Batman.
pew, pew, pew.
You guys are
All right.
playing here, I think at the Troubadour in April. I saw. Is that right?
April 1st, I think.
No fooling. April 1st.
Yeah, no fooling, man.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
mark
I'll
that
I'll
down.
put you down. I'll put you on the guest list for sure. Just tell me how many people you want, and I got you, man. It's gonna be a good
Yeah, I'm
show.
gonna
I've never
need
played it.
probably like plus 15, like me plus
Sure.
15 or 17, I have a
Whatever you want.
large entourage,
Yeah, well, I'll give you +3, and we'll sneak the rest in the back.
Yeah, the Troubadour, it's still the most special room in this town. I wouldn't say it's the greatest sound, the greatest lights, the greatest drinks, but like it has like this pulsing, like primordial heartbeat in there,
Hell yeah!
it just feels right.
I think it's gonna be good.
I think Dust Bowl's playing there a couple weeks after that, like in
All right.
April.
There you go. Get it.
I will see you in April. Well, good luck, man, and I can't wait to hear this band in person.
Yeah, they're fucking firepower, man. Inspiring, and we get on with it every night in a different way. So we'll be prime by the time we get to LA. We'll be on tour. We'll had 10 shows under our belt already, which is gonna be cool.
Yeah, man. We'll keep up the good work, and we'll see you in April.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, bud. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.